everyone. Thank you for being here today. Welcome to Talks at Google. I know that we have so many of you here in person to share this journey with us and being part of the conversation, and we have so many people joining on the live stream. So thank you all for tuning in globally. I'm Shilpa Maniar. I'm the head of Google Ads Safety and also the chair of the Indus Google Network. And I am honored to have with us today two very talented and inspirational women that you've probably watched growing up as well, Tamron Hall and Lish Steiling, who just launched their cookbook, A Confident Cook, which I'm so excited to share, which is fresh off the press. It is now #3 in all cookbooks around the world, and it is, I know, amazing. In a day, they were able to do this. And it is #1 in entertainment and #1 in Christmas. So all the holiday spirit's already very active and fresh. And so really excited to talk about this book today. But before we get into it, I wanted to share a little background on these two incredible women. Tamron Hall is a fellow Texan, a 2-time Emmy Award-winning television host and executive producer of the syndicated talk show Tamron Hall. She just launched season 6 of it. I think she came fresh from the studio today, which is pretty exciting. She's also someone that I've been able to watch kind of growing up as a young journalist at NBC Universal. So, you know, she's constantly a motivational force, and there's no surprise that her unique storytelling capabilities has led her to become a best-selling author, an Emmy Award-winning television host, a self-taught cook, and she's also a mother. Tamron has had her culinary senses ignited at an early age by her grandfather, and she's very inspired by her dad, who she'll talk about later today. She is guest judged on the Food Network's Bobby Flay, Emeril Live, and she has been a longtime supporter and participant of leading culinary events like the James Beard Awards. She enjoys cooking at home with friends and having people gathered around her table. So really excited to have her with us today. And joining her will be Lish Steiling, who is a chef. You've probably seen her on Chopped and Food Network, kind of winning awards and kind of cooking up a storm and really showing you the magic in the kitchen and what you can create together and how you can enjoy the process. She is a food stylist, a recipe writer, a James Beard Award and Emmy Award-winning culinary producer. She's the co-founder of the brand The Taste Curators and is a regular chef on Epicurious on YouTube. So a nice plug for YouTube. Glad that she's representing us as well in the broader ecosystem. She has worked for and contributed to the Today Show, Food Network, the New York Times, the Tamron Hall Show, Vanity Fair, and so many others. And we're very excited to have these two very intelligent ladies with us. And about the book, so going back to the book, A Confident Cook is about friendship, it's about familyship, and it's about bringing people together through food. This book has 73 recipes, and we're going to talk about the whole journey from making eggs to branzino and really complex dishes. And so with no other delay, I would like to welcome Tamron Hall and Lish Steiling to the kitchen.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
It's
so,
like you Googled us.
I know.
I didn't know I did all that. As if I don't Google
Shocking,
myself every
right?
night.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for the warm
oh my
welcome.
God, it is such an honor to have you both here. It just really, the magic of your spirit shines in this book, and I'm excited for everybody around the world to kind of indulge with us as we're going to do some cooking today. And so before we get into it, I wanted to talk a little bit about this book. #1 right now on the charts. It's been a day into it. How are you feeling?
I know. I think we keep pinching each other. Like.
No, full disclosure, because we are, like, I'm a Texan, she's a Wisconsinite. We're kind of born to be competitive, but in a humbling, polite way. And so in that humbling, polite way, all night long, we could go, oh, look at us, we're moving up. We're kind of like, you know.
There were a lot of phone calls.
There were a lot
last
of
night.
like, can you believe it? It's a joy. We met almost 10 years ago at the Today Show when Lish was on the food style team and I was a host of that show. And as this journey started, we said, you know, we're going to maybe do a cookbook. And it was just kind of in passing. And then it became real, and you're holding our book. I mean,
it's out there.
It's like you're babysitting.
Exactly.
Oh my God, $20 an hour, you New Yorker.
20 bucks, maybe a little bit more. No,
Oh my God.
no, but you know, the book that you are holding has over 73 recipes in it, and it's so thoughtfully curated. But before we get into all the delicious recipes you talk about, wanted to talk about the journey of your friendship and the conversation that started this all, because you were somehow able to take this moment on the Today Show and turn it into a deeper connection, into a friendship, a familyship, which you talk about. So I would love to hear a little bit about your journey as friends, as well as your inspiration behind starting your own culinary journey.
Well, honestly, that's why we opened the book that you have in your hand with pictures of us from, I think we were both 7 years old, miles apart in age. I'm a lot older than Licious here.
Not a lot. Come
okay,
on.
old enough.
Be gentle.
But we had the exact same haircuts.
Then,
and we
minus
had
the mullet now, we would still have.
And all these years later, we had the exact same haircut. But our friendship really started, and I love that you appreciate that part of it, because we do have phenomenal recipes, but what we wanted was a story. You know, we're both storytellers. She tells stories with food, and I do it on the show, but we wanted to share with you the nature of curiosity, right? Yeah. Food inspires curiosity, but also life is better when you are curious about people. So she had the tattoos here. I walk over in the kitchen and I see someone with a radish and a carrot, and I'm like, anybody who gets a root vegetable means business, right? I'm like, you got to be able to cook, because you could have had like a hot fudge sundae.
Which I love, by the way. Don't put it past me.
So I inquired about her tattoos, but she also had bruises on her. And I'm like, is everything okay? What happened? Is cooking that hard that you end up bruised? And she said,
I said, oh no, my wife and I are taking a boot camp in Central Park. Like, you should come sometime.
A boot camp. Yeah.
It's a workout thing. And she was like, really? Okay, a boot camp.
But I had an agenda.
Right. She showed up.
I showed up because I had an agenda. Because
in her Lulu line.
That's how Wisconsin is. She thinks it's Lululemon. And so I did. And I said, okay, well, I knew in the back of my mind I had all of these questions about cooking that I didn't know where I was going to get these answers. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to this boot camp thing with you. I showed up. She was stunned. It was in Central Park. Yep. I left with a lot of what you get on your back when you lay in Central Park. Lose your imagination. But I left with a lifelong friend. We went back to my apartment. That sounds so nefarious.
She moved with champagne.
We met at a park and ended up in my apartment. But we ended up there with her wife, which now sounds even more steamy.
And again,
we'll be back.
This story is not in the book. We're getting real BTS.
And it's only going out with the world right now, hi world. But we started this conversation, and I explained to her that, you know, my dad had passed away in 2008, and the two things he loved more, than anything was serving in the Army and his family, and cooking for his family. So we started to talk about, like, how do you start? How do you get confident, right? You know, I told her, and it's in the book, how I'd gone out to a store and I bought all of these tools, and I got back home with $2,000, and this is the truth, worth of tools from a store I won't name. And I still couldn't cook.
Shocking. That's not how it works.
It made no sense to me.
I know. I've done the same mistake. I'm like, I bought this pretty pan. It looks good. Does it taste good?
You're like, you want the food to magically appear. And Lish launched in and started this journey of helping to build my confidence in the kitchen.
Yep, which all started with those tools. Like, we got rid of a lot of them, full disclosure. I mean, even there was this peeler, I kid you not, I didn't know how to use her vegetable peeler.
She was like, what is this?
Like, what is this? And meanwhile, this is like the exact peeler that I gifted her a couple months later, and she was like, this is amazing. It's my favorite gift you've ever given me, and it was like $5.
$5. And that's why in the book we have the chapter on what do you need in the kitchen. And so we don't tell you to throw away things, but we do clear up some of those things you're afraid to ask, like, what knife? Do you really need that big block with like 16 knives? That really is just decor.
I'm guilty of it. But
Everybody.
then I read the book, and then you're like, should you really put it in a wooden thing that's down, and you don't know what's inside of it?
Exactly.
So,
you can't clean it.
Thing. But they're expensive. But you break it down in the book. You really only need
3 knives. Just a chef's knife, a serrated knife, and a paring knife. And as long as you keep them sharp, you can do anything. It's pretty amazing.
You also talk about all of the rubber utensils or plastic utensils that you need. So you were able to take Tamron from a gadget gal to almost a minimalist.
Yeah.
And so if you know, I want to finish your journey story, but since we're talking about the pantry, if there's top 5 things you need in your pantry, what would that be?
Pantry or equipment?
Equipment. We'll talk about equipment now.
Okay, equipment, a good chef's knife, wooden spoon, pair of metal tip tongs, fish spatula, and a good cutting board that's at least this size so that you're not chasing things around the counter as you chop. There's nothing worse than like you're chopping and things are rolling off the board, right? Half your mise en place goes on the floor. So having a board that's big enough that you can actually use is so important in my mind.
And I saw you all look as I did when she said fish spatula. Let's just stop there. You had me at fish spatula. I too, beginners, did not know what the hell a fish spatula was. We ended up, after she purged my drawer, and I then had enough money to go buy Louboutins from the eBay sale of all my things, we went to a restaurant depot, which is pretty much everywhere. They have them here in New York, and most places have some place that you can find affordable tools. We went in there, she said, you need this thing. It's called a fish spatula. If you go, and you'll see it in our book as well, it's a very thin spatula that allows you to flip, for example, fish and other things with ease. I'd never used that. So that's in our book of some of those things that you didn't. And she says chef's knife. That's, again, I'm going to decode because I am the beginner. It's just a knife. But you know, the regular old sharp looking knife that your mom or dad used to. But that's the
psycho,
one.
Right?
It's the one that Anthony Hopkins held.
Exactly.
But those are the things that we feel you need.
Yep.
And so, you know, I feel like we just pivoted right to the kitchen. We went from the Central Park to your apartment to the kitchen.
Yep.
So I'm going to take it back to your journey again. So like that evolution kind of happened organically. We're able to take this moment and build a deeper connection. And then you talk about your dad, and you talk about your journey as a 13-year-old experiencing the magic of a kitchen. Can we talk about what made you want to become a cook, and what made you want to be a confident cook?
Well, what made me want to cook is once I moved to New York, my delivery bills were insane. It's like, I'm like, are you kidding me?
I had $20 for just one sushi roll.
It's like, wait, what? I mean, and the math wasn't mathing. And so I was like, oh gosh, but also, my dad had passed away, and we, to be very honest with you, went to Texas to see my mom, and we went from this celebratory holiday of, you know, like I said, we're Southern, we're Texan, 5 and 6 pies, turkey, ham, you know, there's that meme, greens, beans, tomatoes. We would have everything to nothing because my mom was never really a cook. And I said, I want to surprise my family within a year or so with cooking the meal. And so we just started, and it really started with a text. I said, you know, where do I even start? She goes, what do you have in the kitchen? And I'm like, well, I just went to Fairway, and this is a true story. So I went to Fairway, and I had a fillet, right? I said, I have a little fish. What do I do with the fish? And then we started from there, and it was through text message because she lived on one side of the city, I lived on another. This was pre-Uber, believe it or not, that did not exist when we met.
Taxis, yellow cabs, remember this?
Yeah, that's we were in those days, and I'd already spent all my money on delivery, so I couldn't get a taxi. And so we started to walk through a very simple fish on text. And in fact, I've never shared this. Our first idea for the book was cooking by text. And we were going to share all of our text messages.
We joked about it a very long time.
And so that's why in the book, after each recipe, you see dialogue. Those are real conversations of me. She created 79 recipes, and I'll have to brag on her for a second because what's not on Google about her is that she is your favorite chef's favorite chef. Lish is a recipe tester. And so recipe testers don't often get the shine. So she really has probably created 90% of what you love in cookbooks. Truly, I call her, what are you doing? Recipe testing, recipe testing. So she is the person, when you see the measurements and all that, that's her mind and that's her creativity. And I'm like, you need to get your shine on, and that's why we have this book together, because she does have a particular set of Liam Neeson skills. No, it's true, it's true.
I love how you bring your hype woman best friend with you everywhere you
I know,
go. Everyone needs one.
I
need to be part of this I need to be part of this friendship and to your team. And so, Lish, you talked about you were 13 years old. You were, I think it was a Martha Stewart cooking class, was it?
Oh no, it was just, I was obsessed with Martha Stewart. Like Saturday morning cartoons, oh no. It was Martha Stewart living on the television and me sitting in front of it, and I'm pretty sure like some garden show came right after her. Like I remember it specifically. Every Saturday morning I would be in front of the television, and then my parents were finally like, okay, we'll get you a subscription to the magazine. So I had a Martha Stewart subscription when it was like, you know, the third publication kind of thing. And I saved all of them. I think my parents still have them in the basement. Sorry, Mom and Dad. But like, I was obsessed with it. And from the age of 13, I cooked her like turkey that had the cheesecloth soaked in white wine with butter and
Oh my
the
God, that
whole
sounds
thing,
delicious.
you know, like
She was their favorite kid.
yeah. But like it just grew on me. I was a dancer growing up as well as a kid, and I loved
ballet,
rhythm.
right?
Yes, yeah. I love ballet. I taught ballet. I took it all the way through up until the pandemic, really. But the rhythm of dance is the same as the rhythm in a kitchen.
Yeah.
Like once I realized that, I'm like, oh my God, working on a line is just like a dance. Like, except that if you mess up, somebody could get hurt, you know? So, and that's what kind of drew me to it. It's like there's this rhythm, this passion.
Yeah, it's
and
wonderful.
I love that you think in the book you even call it a science experiment, which sometimes I think about it. You're like, if you add this, like, what's going to happen? Is something going to blow? Usually, I'm like, am I going to blow something up, or is the fire alarm going to go on? But I think it's interesting that you say it's such a fun place to be, and it is a rhythm, and you can relax.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't think that at first. I mean, when people would tell me, "Oh, I love cooking; it's relaxing," I'm like, "What devil are you? Like, what plant?" It was such a foreign thing. Before meeting Lish, so I've been in TV for 30 years, and I've done every morning show, and I've done every cooking morning show. I would leave and not be interested. I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
I'd like,
I get it.
I can't wait to make it tomorrow. Bye bye, and I'd go home and like, delivery. Hi, can I? I mean, because I was just like, okay, it sounds good in the moment, but then you go home, you're like, wait a minute. First, I don't feel like going to the grocery store. And you make all these reasons as to why it's not a good idea. I don't have the time. So that's why in the book we tell you how, not only the tools, but how to stock your pantry. Because one of the things with me, I want to go home. I don't need to run to the store to go get red wine vinegar. I don't need to run to the store to get apple cider vinegar. So we tell you these items with a long shelf life that if you stock your pantry with, that's one less thing you have to worry about. And these aren't things you're going to have to go out and buy tomorrow, and then they're going to go bad the next week, or things that are going to break your wallet.
Yeah.
And so if you keep these staples in, whole mustard, for example, whole grain mustard, which I'd never heard. I'm a French's kid. I didn't know what this was. And so she tells me whole grain mustard.
Or the pink peppercorn.
Pink peppercorns. It's a very scandalous thing, those pink peppercorns.
Why are they scandalous?
Because it's a long story.
I was just going to say.
That's on the after show.
Yeah, exactly.
On the after show. But no, we tell you in that what to stock your pantry, because I understand, and we understand what it's like to work all day, to have other things on your mind, and the last thing you need to come into your home is that, okay, it can feel like a chore, and we don't want that for you, which includes this recipe that we're going to make a little bit later. On paper, you're like, I can't make that. When I tell you it's so easy, and this is the type of dish you make, and when your friends come over, you're like, go ahead, try it. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, and to that point, though, like you change somebody's day when you feed them a good meal, right? So it should be joyous as you're preparing it.
I feel like Google is subliminally doing that to us because they're feeding us every day, and then we keep coming back. No, I'm joking.
But it's true. Food is a common thread.
Food does create this community and this ecosystem and connect us, and I think that is it's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and I'll tell you, when companies were looking at ways to connect with employees, way back when I started out in work, it was like, okay, can we provide childcare? Then it became, okay, what about a great place for them to eat? Because food is a common thread. One of the things I'm so proud of with this book, and we don't talk a lot about it because it speaks for itself, but we are the only book out right now, and maybe the only book that's been created for a long, long, long time with a black woman and a white woman, with a woman who's LGBTQ and a woman who's an ally. That doesn't exist. Think about some of the cookbooks that are fabulous. And so what we want in the food, as well as our story, to show this common thread. I'm curious about this carrot radish woman with white hair that's, seemingly floating through a kitchen. She's curious about this spunky black woman that's talking way too damn much all the time. But we become friends. And so as much as we are so proud of these recipes, and they are fire, we are proud of the connection that food can make with your workplace, with your friends, with a stranger, and that's what these meals are.
And I love that you said that, because food is truly a universal language, and it transcends borders and cultures, and I think that also adds to the element. Now to cook, it's like there's so many spices, and you're like, which ones? And I know I cook Indian food, and I have my spice, jar, or my spice container with a bunch of things, and so. We talked about kind of the 5 tools you kind of need in your kitchen as a utensil. what would be like the 5 things or ingredients? Can you say if there are a few that you just want to have, like staples?
Oh God,
I know.
so well, obviously salt, and we're
Yeah.
very specific. And I know that sounds like salt, duh. Beginner cooks, beginner cooks, beginner cooks. I learned through Lish, not all salt is created equal. Like, we don't get paid to say this, but we use diamond crystal salt. It's a lighter salt. It's a layering salt. And we talk about it in the book because what Lish has taught me, you know, I kind of was that person like, I'm going to over salt it, or at the end I can finish it off with salt. And then you're like, this is really salty.
Yeah.
Salt is layering. So when this dish we're going to prepare, you'll see we add salt at different points in it. But this diamond crystal salt is a lighter salt because not all salt is the same, and she breaks that down in the book.
Yeah, it's not as salty. It actually is very jagged, so it sticks to what you're seasoning very well. Like a lot of times, nothing against Morton's, and people love it and use it and just learn how to use it. That's the important part, right? But they're little pebbles. So when you season a steak, some of it bounces off. Most of it bounces off. Where with the diamond crystal, it actually is designed to stick to the protein and to your food. Yeah. So, see?
Yeah, right. And the reason why we do that is because to build confidence in the kitchen, we want you to have the foundation for success.
Yes.
So the recipes are for beginners, but they're also recipes, the book is for people who are seasoned pros looking for something new to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you said this. I'm going to always remember this salt now, the diamond crystal,
It
because
is.
it's your white T-shirt. You always have it. You use it in
Yes,
everything.
yes.
It has low density,
Yes.
and so definitely a tool I'm taking away from this. But I want to get into the demo and cooking some of the delicious food we have in front of us. But before we start, just wanted to ask you a quick question for a lot of us because we're working, we're busy.
Yeah.
Do you meal prep on the weekend, or how do
I
you
do.
how do
She
you
does.
plan your?
I do.
And then you can cook, so it's easier to cook than when you come home from work.
It is. So I have a 5-year-old son. I know I'm 199, but I
You
had my
are
first
so
kid.
young, and she keeps like,
Well, my birthday's coming up.
She's
No,
I know.
I had my first kid at age 48. I have 178 shows a season. We start out in September and we end in June. She's recipe testing all the time. We're like you, we don't have time. And plus we want to have a social life. Trust me, our favorite water is known as champagne.
Yeah.
We have a life, and so we have things we like to do. And for me, I prep out because I'm a Virgo and I am obsessed with organization. I pick out what I'm wearing for the whole week on Sunday down to my Spanx because I need to plan. And so for me, I look at the recipes that I want to make, I plan it out. And here's the great thing, if you decide you don't want to make it that day, that's okay. But I look at my week ahead. It just helps me out, and it helps me with my food confidence.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
So meal prep is okay to do. So it's okay if it's not as fresh. Is it because I know that you talk about in the book about certain herbs and certain.
So that's the one thing that she did ask me was with prepping, like, is there anything that I can't prep ahead? For me, onions and garlic do not prep ahead. They just grow intenser in flavor. They can get an off flavor, a little bit more
And your whole
astringent.
refrigerator will smell.
Yeah. So that always chop last minute. And fresh, like tender herbs, don't chop them ahead of time. That takes 30 seconds to run a knife through them. They bruise so easily that they'll just die and lose their flavor if you pre-chop them.
Yeah, and what I do with food prep, for example, we're big brunch people. You can come.
Yeah.
We're big
There'll be
brunch-
water.
There'll be water. Which, by the way, speaking of water, it was important that we have a whole book on cocktails because this book is 360. I wanted it to be the modern person's Betty Crocker, where we have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, drinks, desserts.
Yes.
The best chocolate chip cookie recipe you'll ever have in your life. And so we have our endless mimosa recipes. We use one that has cherry juice in it that's spectacular. Lish, because she's a recipe tester, really talks about how salt can enhance anything. So our mimosas have a little dash of salt, which you'll be able to read about. So we wanted this whole 360 experience, but going back to your question about meal prep, so we have this cardamom, beautiful, it's a baked French toast with cardamom, which is a spice, one of my favorite spices that I keep.
I love that.
You prep it the day before by putting it in a soak. It goes in the refrigerator. Back in the day, I'd be like, oh my God, that's 2 days of cooking? No, it's really not, because you're putting it in overnight. It's soaking up all the goodness from the recipe. The next morning when your friends are there, you're up, you're talking, you're having your water, it's coming up to room temperature, you put it in the oven, you pull it out, and you have this beautiful baked French toast that is absolutely the best breakfast. I will put my stick my name on it that you'll ever have.
Baked
Custardy
French toast
goodness.
with cardamom.
It's
That
and
sounds
we have it with berries with it, sparkling berries we call it. You'll have to rewind sparkling.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you can guess.
And,
That's
but you
fine.
don't have to, for kids, you don't have to put it on. So
Yeah.
a lot of our recipes, they're for an adult palate and for kids to enjoy them as well. We have a bucatini pomodoro that is absolutely beautiful. It's my son's favorite, young Mo's favorite. But it's also delicious for adults because going back to time, I don't have time to make 3 meals, one for him, one for us. So we looked for things, even this dish is one of his favorites, that everyone can enjoy because we mean this. We want joyous, no pressure. I did not, and Lish did not want to add to the stress. We're all stressed out enough.
Yep.
And we wanted you to be able to have a big result, right? With effort, because it does take effort, but not overwhelming effort. Does that make sense? And that was important to us.
I love that. And when we're looking at the food, our digestive system
I'm hungry.
starts by looking at food. Actually, 80% of what we taste is by looking at it. So we're going to cook today chicken thighs with dates and olives. So we're talking about dates earlier, basically.
Right, our dates.
Yep.
Well, and this is the thing with this recipe. Chicken thighs, I didn't, and we tell in the book, eat chicken thighs until I was like in my 30s. Because when I was growing up, like that was the part of the chicken that the old people ate. You're like, chicken thighs, give me a leg. And then I didn't
Granny's going to get
Granny,
that
I want the wing, you know. And so the reason why chicken thighs is that it soaks up the flavor. It really brings in, and this is the dish that at the end you want a nice crunchy bread so you can get in there and really absorb the flavor. So we start out with chicken thighs, skinless chicken thighs, which are easy to find, easy to find.
And how hot is the pan right now?
Oh, we're going hot.
Okay.
And you want to always start hot pan, hot oil, and then the protein, right? If you heat your pan all the way through and then add your fat, that pan is virtually nonstick. So then you don't have to actually have nonstick pans. You can use stainless steel, cast iron, all that goodness.
And as a beginner, what I would do, I used to put my oil in the pan and then put it on and then turn it on.
And then poof.
And wonder why. And wonder why the house was smoking. Part of the reason, Lish, and we talk about in the book, that you heat your pan without the oil. Let's say you forget, you get distracted. Google calls you and you got to go to work. You're not burning up your oil, right? So you can turn this on and heat this up without it causing a smoke out. You put your fat in after that, and it makes it instantly non-stick. And you've saved yourself the drama of a smoky house.
Wait, are you going to talk about her pinch of salt she just added and didn't tell us about?
And this is a pet peeve because she wants me to explain this all the time. This is a big deal. It's a big deal. What's a pinch of salt? Hold your hand up. What do you think a pinch of salt is?
Yeah,
None of you can cook.
This, right?
None of you can cook. This is a cookless class in here. A pinch of salt is?
3 fingers and a thumb.
3 fingers.
That's a chef's pinch of salt.
Yeah. And that's the point of what you just did there. Literally was music to my ears because I am you. So I was able
she
to
feels
ask,
seen right now.
Like 14 years ago.
I was able to ask a world-class chef without being embarrassed, because if I'd asked that on one of my shows, people are like, please, you don't know anything. And I'd have to look at my name all trending all night long. But I get to ask the questions that you may not know to ask, or maybe you're embarrassed to ask. So a pinch of salt is not that pink dress. You got to get in there. You got to get in. I know it's like a comedy show. When you sit on the front row, you get roasted.
Oh, no.
You get roasted. So a pinch of salt, 3 fingers, and I did not know that. And that's the thing what Lish is saying. You're layering the salt.
Yes, exactly. Every ingredient deserves to taste the best that it can. That means that every ingredient needs a little bit of salt. That's what brings out the flavor of food. It's not there to make it salty. It's there to bring out the flavor of the food, right?
And then even the oils you're talking about, you can use a neutral oil.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's not, okay.
Yeah.
Because there's so many oils on the market, you're like, what's going to be the healthiest?
overwhelming. And we kind of explain that in the book. Listen, you know, healthy is subjective. And so
it's very true.
Well, I tell you why, because you know we grew up eating meat, and I have no issue with vegans, and God bless. It's a wonderful experience I'm sure you're having. But my favorite thing is a burger, and we have our triple B burger that you make with a butter compote that you can keep this butter in your freezer. So once you make it for your burger, you can keep it for fish if you want something else to put it on. So we have burgers. We have a steak that is, I have a 27-year-old nephew. He works for the Buffalo Bills. He practically comes to New York every other weekend. He's like, Aunt Tamron, just make the steak. And we have fish. We have a whole fish. Our first vacation after our date.
Well, I was actually going to say there's so many fish in the sea.
I know, right?
There were so many fish in the sea,
and I ended up with this one. But we went on this trip with my nephew to Antigua, and I love whole fish. And I said, Lish, we have to have a whole fish in our book because so many people are intimidated by whole fish.
Yep.
I think the eyes intimidate me. I'm like, why are you looking at me?
They're not. You're looking at it. And
Yeah,
you're
I was
gonna
gonna
get it.
say, trust me, they're not looking at you anymore.
And so right now she's cutting a parsnip, which is a part of this recipe. So you're browning your skinless chicken thighs.
Smells so good.
And so you're going to brown these on one side. This recipe, as we pointed out, you've got pitted olives, dates, cumin, Calabrian chili paste that's going to give you a little heat in it, tomato paste, feta, and za'atar. So it seems like, again, I used to be the person, I'm counting the number of ingredients because I'm like, oh no, not making that, it's too many. This has layers in it, and when you look at it, you might think, God, that's a lot of recipes. It's not. It really isn't, and you'll get through it. But I was the person, if they had 2 lines for the recipe, I was not making it. And so that's what we were conscious of, because we want you to be able to still enjoy and build your confidence in the kitchen.
Now, the nice thing about, I know a lot of people are probably like, skinless chicken thighs.
Yes.
Like, why would you do that? For me, when you're doing a braised chicken dish, the skin always just kind of gets soggy and slimy, right? And everybody kind of ends up pushing it off to the side anyway. So why not build the flavor into the meat itself? Because otherwise you're browning with that skin and nobody eats it. Nice. So you might as well get the flavor in the actual meat and let that help develop the dish. So that's why the skinless in this recipe, which I think, makes a huge difference in the end result.
And that's the knowledge of a recipe tester, right? She's tested enough of these dishes with the skin on to recognize what we all experience, which is you see that skin, you're going to slide it right over because you can't cut it. And so this is a braised chicken with a lot of flavor, and this is one of my, I know we were talking earlier, this is one of my favorite recipes in the entire book. It just leaves you with this great feeling of the feta cheese. It's very Mediterranean inspired, and it's a freshness to it that is so good.
And I also love that your husband doesn't necessarily like olives.
No, he does not.
And he eats this dish.
He eats the dish, or he can
He might push
get
out
takeout.
the olives, but he likes the flavor of it. Yeah.
No, he does love it. He pushes the olives over to the side, and we want you to be flexible, right? If you don't like olives, don't put the olives in, right? It's okay, and that's what we want you to do. We want you to try the recipe and then decide on what fits you, because that's a part of the confidence. Tasting as you go and putting the things in it that you like.
And I think that one of the things you also talk about is, like, if you can't get skinless things, or you can't get a fish that's deboned, like, you can actually ask the deli or the butcher shop to do it the way you want it, right?
And they are there to help you.
We don't have to struggle. So you said become their friend.
Yes, exactly. I am friends with the guys at my fish shop. I am friends with my butchers at my butcher shop. And I can go in and say, hey, what's fresh today? I'd like the skin removed from that. I love this red sea bass, but I don't want it whole. Can you fillet it for me? That's if I don't feel like practicing at home.
But she's a chef and she has a friend. I walk into the random grocery store and I'm like, can you please take the skin off the chicken? And they do, because that's their job.
Yes.
A fun fact here, some of the most skilled people in the grocery store will be in the meat department and in the fish department. And you don't have to know them personally. You go in and say, can you debone this fish and clean this fish? That's a part of the grocery store.
They do.
And this doesn't have to be an expensive, fancy grocery store. Wherever you live, wherever you go, you walk in, hi, can I get that whole branzino? Can you clean it for me? That's a part of it. So that's, again, building your confidence and recognizing and shout out to people who still have those jobs, because those are skilled jobs. You don't just become a butcher. Those are skilled jobs, and they're there to answer your questions and to do, what you need to make your recipe. I've gone in and said, here's this is what the recipe says. Can you do that? And they're like, okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. And it gives them something to do.
Right.
It's like, how many times can they weigh out a pound of ground meat? Like,
I kind of want to be like, can you make it for me too? Can you and cook it? But it was interesting. You said that I'm always scared to cook for fish or anything raw. Yeah. But you said to know, like, you can smell if a fish is bad, but you can also look to see if it's fresh or not.
Yeah.
And you said make sure you said to look into its eyes.
Well, not like this. No, but you'll see that it's a cloudiness in the eyes, but you'll be able to
you
smell
want it to be clear.
But I told Lish, and part of this, again, building confidence in the kitchen, is the relationship with food. I said, we hear people say, oh, I'm so scared to touch that fish, or I'm scared to touch that chicken. What you put in your body, there's nothing more important. And getting to know the food source, getting to know what your fish is supposed to smell like.
That was a pinch.
Oh, that was a pinch.
Yeah, 2 pinches.
And so what she's added in here, onions, celery, we're building a base for the chicken thighs in this. Now, I still can't do that. So,
do you want to try?
No, I don't want to try. If I was, I'd try at home. I'd be like, but again, that's the reality of it. This is a James Beard Award-winning producer, chef, and I am truly somebody who did not really feel comfortable in the kitchen. And now I cook probably 4 times a week. I have 2 shows a day. I come home. I've already decided what I'm preparing that night. We have a couple of we have a no time to waste chicken. Yep. Because who has time to waste? And so you're thinking, what am I going to have? We have a big salad, this big bowl salad, because Lish says that when you make a salad, all the good stuff is at the bottom. So she just basically made a salad based on all the good stuff that gets left at the bottom.
The little extra dressing, the cheese, the protein, it all sinks to the bottom. The croutons, it's like, I always wanted to do a big bowl salad, so this was our opportunity to do it.
The big bowl salad. We tell you how to make a basic vinaigrette. That's something that you can make in advance, keep it in the refrigerator, and that will last you for many days. So we try to set you up again with your time in mind, but also because you want to have fun. And whether you're cooking for yourself or some other people in your life or a big crowd, we have, and you go on my social media, I just made it, I couldn't believe how impressed people were. We have a giant crab cake because Lish said, how many times you go to a restaurant, you have a crab cake and everybody's fighting over those 2 little crab cakes. So she said, why not make a giant crab cake? So we make this beautiful giant crab cake with a creamy herb sauce that any of you today, if you've never walked in a kitchen, you can make that today. And it is absolutely delicious.
Yep. So we have our parsnips, the celery, onion going, added a little bit of cumin in there. So this is one of the things that I like to encourage people to do. You are in charge, you're in control in the kitchen, right? That's okay. So the pan was a little bit hot, turn down the heat. Even if the recipe says medium-high heat, everybody's medium-high heat is different, right? So we just need to keep an eye on it, listen to it, use all of your senses, smell. You can tell if something is starting to burn, right? By the smell, by the sight, by the sound. Oil sounds angry when it starts to get too hot, right? And you can actually hear the difference between happy oil and angry oil. So you just really have to use all of your senses as you go.
And don't be afraid of browning. I think sometimes people think, oh my, it's browning. Is this going to go to? It's not. You can control the heat if you need to take it off. As Lish said, if you're listening to it, and that's what I do enjoy. I used to ride my bike all the time around New York City. When we met at the Today Show, I would ride my bike from the Today Show to my home in Tribeca. It's an escape, and cooking is that for me. If it's 20 minutes, it gives you a chance. You guys work very, very hard. We have very pressure cooker lives, and it is nice to have something for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour that you can just carve out. And I think to me, this turned into a therapeutic thing. I do transcendental meditation. I don't always have time to fit in my 20 minutes, and I feel terrible. I'll go in the kitchen, and it gives me that same cathartic feeling of just like, I'm not thinking about anything right now but this. And then you sit down and you prepare your meal, and you might find yourself back on your email working, but you're sitting there with this delicious meal that you've made. There's a form of peace that can come from it if you just get in there and try it.
And when did you go from that? Because I know that you said you were overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And you've been cooking for now 12, 20 years. I mean, you're not a beginner anymore.
No.
But like, when you started in cooking, when was that turning point for you where you found it relaxing? Because you went from overwhelmingness to like now you find it meditative.
Honestly, it was very early on in our friendship because, and I have, this is not a name drop, but okay. The Barefoot Contessa, her foolproof book, somebody told me to get her book. And I did foolproof, and I started practicing. It was phenomenal. And I was lucky enough to have her invite me to her home. You're welcome. In the Hamptons. And there I was with myself and Ina. And we were talking. There it is. Ina and I were just chatting it up over in her beautiful home. And Jeffrey was out back. And then I came back, and Lish was like, okay, try this. And I said, wow, there's something so comforting about Lish and Ina and the way they explain and take you on this journey. So early on, Lish was she had that same way of building your confidence. So she set me up for success. So honestly, when I made my first whole fish, I was like, this girl I can do this. And And so those are the recipes. So when you get the book, look through there, see what speaks to your heart, and then try it. Get in there. One of the things that I also did, I'm a Virgo, I have mentioned that 7 times. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And what I mean by that is, I used to be, if my onions weren't exactly all the same dice, I was like, this is all wrong. Well, she's a chef. She's a culinary expert. My onion dice will never be up to her game. Also, other tip, don't try to clean while cooking.
I was going to just ask you about that. I was like, the cooking and the cleaning and the prepping, like that takes hours.
You can do some cleaning, but and this is the reason I say that, you start cooking, you turn away, this is burnt. Your chicken, and now you're mad because you're like, damn it, I did all that for nothing. So yeah, you can tidy up your workspace, and that's important, but don't turn around and say, let me now scour this pan, or just stay in the moment of cooking. And I think that helped build my confidence because, again, you're focused on that. So what she's done now, she's put the tomato paste in there. She's also added the Calabrian chili, which some of you might be feeling tingle in your throat right now.
Yeah. Can you taste it? They said 80% is what you.
And so that's a chili. So it's going to add heat to this, but not too spicy. I love spicy. My husband does not. But what we add is, this is a layered dish with texture to it. So because it's like anything, you're going to put the effort in it. I don't want it to taste just, as Cardi B says, regular schmegular.
No.
We've got layers in this. So that's what you feel there. You feel that heat coming off of there.
I smell the heat.
Yeah, and you can smell how when the tomato paste goes in, suddenly there's a sweetness that comes out. You bring out those sugars, so that adds that depth of flavor, that sweet depth of flavor from the tomato paste.
And when did you know this was ready to start adding the additional seasoning? Like, do you wait for the onions to be completely translucent, or at what point?
It's softened so that you can see that the vegetables are softened, starting to be almost cooked through. A little whisper of brown is always a good thing because that's developed flavor.
And you can see in their color that they changed there. And these are the things, as you build your confidence. At the beginning of the book, we tell you, for example, how to sear a steak. We take you all the way back to how to scramble an egg. Because so many people, I grew up with people like, and I'm like, that's not scrambled. What is that? We teach you a technique to scramble eggs. We talk to you about what's a hard-boiled egg. I like a 7-minute egg. Lish, what do you like? 5, 9?
No, I'm a 7 or 8 minute.
7 or 8.
I think I like a 9-minute egg.
You like a 9-minute egg? So
Yoga.
basically, you're like, you're done.
Done.
So we take you through how to boil an egg. Like when we say the basics, we do. So when you look in that book, there's a chapter that says how to sear a steak. Our no time to waste whole chicken, it really is that. And so what we are trying to do is set you up for success. Once you see how effortlessly she's doing this, we detail this in the recipe. And at the end of the chapters, as I said, there are real questions with me saying, wait a minute, how do you spatchcock a chicken, which is the most controversial recipe in our whole book.
Is that the engagement chicken that you say is the engagement chicken?
No, that's, I think it was Ines that was the engagement chicken, but it is this spatchcock chicken is, I'm breaking out in hives from
Who's
it.
spatchcocked in here?
You know what it is?
I don't know what spatchcock. How do you spatchcock a chicken?
So in normal layman non-chefy terms, it's when you take out the back, the spine of the chicken, and it's flat. And that allows it to cook faster. So she said to me, we're going to spatchcock a chicken. And I'm like, what did you call me? And in the book, we take you through spatchcock this chicken. And I thought it was important because I think when you try this, first of all, it gets your hands in it. But you will have success with this. Oh, you get to eat? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I love it. You get to spatchcock the chicken. And it's a great recipe that cooks really fast. So it's in the book as well.
And so what should you guys are all getting to taste this, the folks that are in person, on the live stream. You can watch us eat, but what should they be, like, how savory is it? What spices do you think what undertones are they going to feel? How do you explain?
This is a very sweet, savory, spicy. There's lots of layers and nuances to it. And you should be able to taste all of those layers with each bite. I think that there's a nice brightness to it from the funkiness of the Calabrian chili and from the vermouth. And there's just that underlying super savory element from the parsnips and the olives and that caramelized tomato paste. It's just
and that's what she talked about. What was in the jar was the vermouth, and that allows you to deglaze it and get that flavor and that crunchiness, because you can't be afraid of the stuff at the bottom. So often people are like, that's burnt. It's like, no, it's not. That's the flavor.
The best.
That's the best stuff. So we walk you through understanding that the deglaze of the bottom of the pan, for example, to get you just this flavor. But I can't stress enough, I really did not cook. I really did not cook. It was not going to be a part of my journey. But I've learned to so greatly appreciate it. And the key to that, building that confidence, is having someone who will set you up for success. And I think this book, I know this book does that. I mean, we have a Dutch baby that's amazing with ice cream and citrus. I see your pink dress. You're falling in love over here. And so we have all of those things. We have a tahini malt that I have had every day this summer, and my Spanx are angst at this point because it's
a tahini milkshake.
It's a tahini malt. So we use malted milk, tahini, oat milk, salt, vanilla ice cream, and
so
it
good.
is game changer.
I'm from Wisconsin. Like, this reminds me of the frozen custard of Wisconsin.
It
was super, like, you know.
It was really tough to find one recipe to make for you all today. So hopefully you're enjoying it. There's so many more in the book, but it's made with chicken. I know we talked about this. I know how you feel about vegan food. Is there a substitute? Is there a substitute for chicken for the folks that can't add chicken to it?
So that's, for me, I thought that the thing that would probably work the best here would be like a cauliflower steak, and then you could braise it in that same liquid, and it would absorb all of the flavors of that same juice. I didn't have a chance to actually develop it and test it beforehand, so I apologize that there's no vegetables.
Here's the substitute for it.
Yeah.
Make our harissa carrots. We have harissa carrots.
Don't make this.
We have a beautiful harissa carrot that really reminds me of this because it does have the heat of the harissa and it has like a texture. So I think you could do the harissa as a replacement for this. We have a pink peppercorn, corn on the cob that you don't have to make on the grill. It's cheese and pink peppercorn, and it's an elote inspired corn. We have a beautiful zucchini.
Yes.
So that we have, I think, great replacements. But for me, I think the closest thing to do this would be the harissa carrots because they're amazing. It's phenomenal.
I wish we could have made all this food. It's just making me even more hungrier.
So who's cooking dinner tonight? We're coming over.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we open the floor to questions, what is your song? Because you talk about this. You talk about cooking as a dance, cooking as a rhythm. There's songs that you have in the book that you listen to while cooking. What is the song you would listen to while you're preparing this dish?
Oh, that's a great question. What's in the book? Let me see.
I know.
Let me see. I have my playlist.
I mean, you just quoted Cardi B earlier, so
I know. Yeah, that doesn't go with Cardi.
Maybe Billy Ocean, Love Really Hurts Without You.
You like that one?
Good song.
So this is our playlist.
That.
At the back of the book, we have our playlist. I think mine would be How Deep Is Your Love, because it's deep inside and soaking up.
Little
How
BG.
deep is your love?
A little step tap action as you make your
So
chicken.
this is, these are okay. Let's see. What would go? I'm looking at our, I like Just One Kiss, Raphael Sadiq. These are our real playlists, but we put this book together like a year ago. And by the way, this is all at my home in Sag Harbor. This is a market in Sag Harbor that we go to, and it was important for us to shoot it on location. There's your playlist.
Oh, I love it. There's so many. I think
we shot all of this on location because we wanted to really take you inside our journey so that you could feel like Lish is your friend and you're able to call her, and I'm your friend, and I'm really going to ask the real questions that your friend would ask on this cooking experience. And we were so lucky that Giada, Carla Hall, Gail Simon, Suzanne Goen, all have the back of the book endorsement. Let me just put that up there. Yeah.
And it's because if the book, I can't wait for you all to kind of get in there and start cooking. I can't wait to cook, but I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So I do want to open up the floor to questions. You can sing a song, you can do a dance, you can ask a question about cooking to our amazing chefs here. So any questions? Sure.
Hello.
My name is Akia Nata. Oh, we're doing.
Oh.
Hello.
It's official.
So my question, I have like your stereotypical 20-something New York City apartment, and that the kitchen is non-existent. And so when it comes to like appliances, there are a lot of fancy appliances that I have no space. And so if you were to have like one kitchen appliance on your counter that was going to take up a substantial amount of space, what would it be?
Mine is a food processor.
Mine's an air fryer, but you didn't ask me.
I'd say a Vitamix.
Vitamix, yeah.
Yeah. We do go through like the equipment that you need in the book. And a lot of it we say is unnecessary unless you're really going to use it. So that would be my suggestion, is think about what you're actually really going to use and take up the counter space with that. And whether that's a food processor, a blender, whatever it may be. It could just be a toaster. It could be a toaster oven.
You don't like my
whatever
air
gonna
fryer?
use.
Yeah, no.
An air fryer.
You won't use it enough to justify it. But no, I think that's
something
right.
that you're gonna use.
And you know,
Yeah.
you look. I think that's a great question because it's true. We live in New York, but outside of New York, it doesn't matter. I don't want a bunch of stuff on top, and then I'm trying to cook, and it's like, So for me, I think it's how often, as Lish said, you're going to use it.
Yep.
And I have to say, I did change my mind. I thought food processor until you said the Vitamix because I probably use that more than anything. You're making soups with it. It has a versatility to it.
Tahini malt.
The tahini malt. But yeah, and just realizing that there are no rules to this, right? What you're going to use it. But the one rule, just get in there and try it. It really don't make the busyness of life make you miss the important things of life. And sometimes we get so looped into our lives and our careers and just sitting down and having a good meal and a sense of accomplishment that's not related to your career, that doesn't turn into a bank account, oh, look what's in my account. It's just a moment. And I feel like if I had any advice now, I'm about to be 54 years old, I wish that I had stopped to smell the garden that I was growing. I was always looking at the next garden, the next thing that I needed to build, this show, that show, this show. And that's probably why I never learned to cook, because I was always looking at the next garden and not smelling the roses that I had produced and nourished. And so I would say to you, take a moment, even if you just start on the weekends. You don't have to cook every day. Look in there, pick one thing you want to make over the weekend. If you're by yourself, make it by yourself. I didn't get married till I was 47. But if you have 100 friends, bring them over too, just make sure they pay some of the grocery bills. But take a weekend and just try one thing. Escape from the pressure and enjoy the moment of cooking for yourself. And then put it on Instagram and tag me.
Yeah. And look at your garden now.
And look at your garden now.
Actually, it was funny because even in the book you say that even with the eggs, and it's so simple with the 6, 7, 8, 9-minute eggs because it literally takes 6 minutes to make it. You said that's the first time you didn't want to be a 10.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a 10. That's the first time I didn't want to be a 10. But even boiling the egg, like people think that, oh, put it in, turn it on. There are so many theories about how to boil a perfect egg. Explain, Licious.
To me, start with boiling water, lower it down gently. Don't try to drop it in. Don't be a hero. Like, you're going to burn yourself, right? Like, take a slotted spoon, lower it in gently, and then you set your timer. Let it go for the 6 minutes, let it go for the 10 minutes. Wherever your sweet spot is, that's entirely up to you. You're in control. Shock it in ice water. Let it sit for a couple minutes in the ice water, and it should peel easily and give you the result that you'd like.
So don't put the egg in the water on the stove and then turn it on and think in 8 minutes magic is going to happen, because it has to come to the boil.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, and that feels like a weird question to ask, right? You're not going to go up to a chef, world-class chef, and say how to boil an egg. But I did for you. This is what I did for you.
Thank you for doing that for us. I was reading the conversation, and I was those are my
person
questions.
at a time. One person at a time.
You're gonna be my new friend. I'm gonna phone.
I am
like,
your
what
friend.
do
I'm
I
a
do?
phone a friend.
What do I do? We have time for one more question.
This is great. With the recipe that you just created, I'm a little fearful when I cook with oil and stuff on the stove. I live in an apartment complex. I'll be setting the whole place up. Fire alarms going off. I don't want that. I'm in Jersey.
Yep.
So what would be the difference? I'm very proud of that. What would be the difference in the recipe if you baked the chicken thigh versus cooking it on the stove?
Interesting. If you wanted to like actually get a sear on it, I would broil it so that you get some color on it. Like, season it with the salt, rub it with a little bit of oil, and throw it under the broiler for a couple minutes until you get that deep flavor and that deep browning. And then build everything else on the stovetop and just finish it on the stovetop. At least then you won't have the searing smoke going all over the place.
Why are you afraid? What, Sony Soprano live in your building? What's going on?
My father was a firefighter for 30 years.
So you're afraid about the smoke detector going off?
Yeah, because it's a big complex.
It's a big complex.
So does that immediately call the fire department if it goes off?
Oh, it does?
Can you turn it off?
Gotcha.
What about the fan?
There's only, I try that too, but I'd rather not play with it.
Yeah.
So
honestly,
I get that.
There is a device that I recently tried out.
So
put the fan on above like on the microwave.
Right,
Yeah.
but no, there's actually a portable hood that you can buy now that sits on your countertop
Okay.
when you're
been
searing
testing it out.
something. And we've been testing it, and it because I'm in a building in Brooklyn. It's just a 3-apartment building, but like I set off the fire alarm all the time.
Right.
Like, no shame in that game. But like this little device, I can sear steaks, burgers, and the alarm doesn't go off.
It retails for $140. I bought it and I said, Lish, test it out. And that is a true story. The recipe test, I'm like, let's see what it's got. And we tested out. It's called it's on our phone.
Yeah.
We'll get it for you, but it's a little. They have Airhood. So there's one, and again, we're not getting paid by Airhood.
No.
They have a plug-in version, and then they have a version that's battery operated, but it absorbs the hood. But like that's a tough question because of our circumstances. But we have a number of other things in there to try. As I said, we have 2 chicken recipes. We have things that you finish off in the oven, but it's also just, as Lish said, you have the ability to control the smoke. And so the tip about not putting the oil and then turning it on reduces your risk of that. I knew it. I saw it in your face. I saw it in your face.
Not anymore.
Right.
Not after today.
I'm like, what is going on in this house? So try that out. Call us if anything goes wrong. And we'll be there. But that's a big part. That's why mine would smoke a lot. Is that now we do have a steak that I highly recommend you don't make.
The head note literally says if you don't if you don't set off your fire alarm, you're not doing it right.
So don't do that.
Maybe next year. Maybe
next year.
But yes, remember, to Tamron's point, you're in control. So medium-high heat, like just make sure that it's browning and doing its thing. It doesn't have to be spitting and angry and like smoking up the whole place, you know? So it might just take a little bit longer to brown.
It'll take longer to brown.
You just have to be patient.
But you don't have to turn it like flame on.
Yeah, I panic and then I move it off.
Exactly, And so warm your pan. Add your oil. If it looks like it's angry, take it off to the side, calm it down. It's like a toddler. Let's be cool here. Let's be cool. Let's keep it demure. Let's keep it classy.
Very cutesy.
Very cutesy. And then bring it back and then brown it and then layer it on. And as you saw, the smoke started to dissipate because this is what she means by braising. See, it's living in the juices here. So all of that is soaking in. So when this is finished off, when you have a bigger plate, clearly Google is struggling. They couldn't give you more than a little piece of chicken around here. On the struggle train over here.
Oh, don't say that.
I won't Google myself after this.
I know, I was just gonna say.
How dare you? But you would soak it up in the juices. All right, you're going to soak it up with some crunchy bread and then move on. But that's braising. That's what you see happening right there. And the smokiness goes away, and you'll just be able to enjoy that.
Well, this was such a wonderful conversation. I feel like we can hang out with you all day. So we will hold you captive, and we will have our bigger plates to eat with you. But this book really is about friendship. It's about a journey. It's about families and bringing people together. It's beautiful. It's #1 right now on Amazon for entertainment, for Christmas. We talked about #3. It's probably even
people are gifting it already apparently for the holidays.
And so
we need Google reviews. So write a Google review.
Right place to have Google reviews. And so I guess if you could leave us with this, you guys shared so many beautiful words about just the process of it. What's next for you? What advice do you have? What do you want to leave us with in terms of the beginner cook, intermediate cook audience?
Ooh, that's tough. So for me, one thing, my biggest suggestion for people who are starting out is season as you go, taste, taste, taste. I feel like that's something that isn't necessarily instilled in a home cook, and it's so important. It's something that we as line cooks learn from the get-go. You can taste at almost any point in a dish, and that way you're in control of the seasoning, right? And above all that, just cook with love and confidence. I mean, you can taste that, So, secret ingredient.
It is. And I think, there's so many things you can't control in life. I call them the unknown variables. We're going to all walk out here, and life is going to be lifing. It's going to be waiting for us, and you don't even know the things that are around the corner. You can control what you eat. You can control that part of your day. So, again, you don't have to launch into this book and cook everything over the next 10 days. You don't have to get one thing, maybe one of the breakfasts over the weekend, launch into that, maybe sear steak. And just start that journey because you can control what you eat and you can control that portion of your day. And I think that's empowering, especially now more than ever. So we wish you the best. We want you to lead with confidence and love and just go have a good meal.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you so much. It's so lovely.
Thanks for having us. Seriously.
Thank you.